see, I'm not in any of my usual vehicles, but I'm in a little red Postman Pat van because I'm off to go and see Uncle Steve. Steve still has the Rover of Doom turbo whistle. I don't know how much of it you're seeing because that camera feels and I'm also, the camera's upside down at the moment, so I've got to remember to flip the footage. I've got Uncle Steve's van because he's doing some welding on the Rover, and he sold his Fiat, that lovely little Fiat 500 he sold. So there's stuff rattling around in the back. Well, I have cleaned the back out a little bit because the plan today, the mission, or at least my mission, is to load Phyllis, the Suzuki, into the back of the van. I've put some straps in the back, and the idea is to bring Phyllis back home because it's just easier to work on her, and I can get her up on the bench, and obviously the lighting and everything's better for filming. And it's having the spare time to go up Steve's unit to do the work. I mean, if I put my mind to it and cracked on with it, it wouldn't take that long, but I want to take my time, do it properly. I don't want to be having to pull that engine apart every couple of months because I rushed it or dropped a gear. I love this van. It is a Vauxhall Combo 1.3 diesel, the same engine that was in that Fiat, funny enough, and a cracking little engine. I'm not going to swear. Fucking brilliant. If you're used to sort of petrol cars, listen to that turbo. That could get addictive. If you're used to turbo cars, I'm sure this is a 1300 diesel. I may be wrong, it may be a 15. I'm sure it's a 13. If you're used to petrol cars, a 1300 car, not quick at the end of the day, not got any torque, you have to rev the tips off it to get anywhere, although more modern smaller engines are way better than like the 1300s that were around when I was a lad. Yeah, but this little thing, it like pumps up the road lovely. It really is nice. I would have stayed there if I were you, Mr. Skoda. Go on then, you can come out the junction. I'm a nice person in a van. It's funny because say that you know that cars and stuff and even motorbikes change people's personality. I find I'm a very jolly fellow in a van. I think I fit a van quite well, and they are really useful bits of kit. I think Uncle Steve's on a mission to get me in a van. I'd quite like a little Mercedes Vito as a day van or as a weekend van, because you can very easily put like a rock and roll bed in the back and just disappear somewhere for a night. You know, I'm currently just pulling into a dogging lay-by near us because there's usually a little snackage van here, and drip. And as I'm going over Steve, so I'd pick breakfast up. So that's part one of the mission today, is to pick fried comestibles in a bread bit, roll, cob, sandwich, piss flap. So I'm just going to pull up outside the cob van, if I can actually manage to get the fucking van out of any of these massive fucking potholes. God, I didn't realise this lay-by was this big, but then I'm not a dogger. So anyway, I'm going to go for a bit and I'll see you when I'm back. well, I'm now going to work, and then I will get Phyllis out either tonight when I finish or very first thing tomorrow morning. And then the idea is get Phyllis up on the bench. So I shall sign off now, guys, for this part of the video, the rescue of Phyllis. Well, it's not a rescue, it's a relocation. So we'll recall that, the relocation of Phyllis. Right, the next part of the video you should see, Phyllis will be at my house. Bye. Oh, little scooter, I love you. As you can see, Phyllis is back in the shed, and basically what I'm doing, I've not long finished work, is I've just brought her in the shed, Nibbler's outside, I've not set the bike ramp up yet, I'll probably do that tomorrow. And basically what I want to do is, because it's been a little while since I last looked at her, is just give myself a recap of where I am with her. Lots of hand gestures. That's the throttle body and what have you. Other side, let's see, hanging, that's the fuel injection and manifold. There's my piston, obviously cam chain and what have you, and I'm just basically familiarising myself where I am. New cylinder, painted cylinder head and all that stuff, and that is the orientation of it as it goes on like that. And there's a really good lead in on that barrel. Obviously this is all going to get wiped down and cleaned up and then oiled, but there's a really good lead in, if you see it, on that, which means that the old piston rings all they'll go in quite nicely. What thing I'm going to do before I even attempt to put the cylinder on, obviously we need a new gasket, which I've got gasket, but I'm going to clean up this little area around here, make sure no shitulation gets in the engine. Obviously, you know, that's just stuff that's fell on the piston, but it's not a good idea to have shite on the piston because it will drag it up and down the bore, it'll score the bore, and then we've bollocked a barrel basically. So basically that's where I'm at. So I'm going to put you down, I'm going to do a bit of fluffulation and then bring you back. Unfortunately I've lost, or misplaced, I haven't lost it, the tripod mount, otherwise I'd set you up the tripod and put you down and film it all, but I'm just going to do 5-10 minutes worth of shagulation and then bring you back when I sort of roughly know what I'm doing. We've got a bit of crap on the lens. Yes! Mission accomplished. Cleaned crap off lens. So hopefully my mind will be jiggled and joggled. I don't think that belongs with it. I think I just picked that up off Steve's floor. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, hopefully all these fasteners and bits should make sense, because obviously the barrel's there, the cylinder head and what have you. Yeah, little dowel, there's another little dowel just there. Right, most of it makes sense. Those four are the cylinder head bolts, these are its washers, those are the dowels for the cylinder head to barrel. That I do believe is a little dowel pin thing that goes in the middle of that sprocket, I do believe. I have got the proper service manual, so if I do get stuck or anything like that, I can always refer to that before I cock it up. That's the old gasket, one of the cam chain guides, the other cam chain guide, little selection of bolts, one of which is the bolt for the upper cam chain guide, because obviously this is the tensioner on here, and how you back this off is there's a little rubber bung in the end, and you go clockwise with a little screwdriver and it pulls the piston in. You can probably see the piston in the bore there, and then all you've got to do is just give it a little nip when everything's put back together, and that piston will tension the cam chain again. Finger action, tension the cam chain again. So I think I'm all good in attempting to put it back together. Now what I'm going to attempt to do is turn the engine over, because it won't do any harm as it is, as long as you keep the cam chain taut. Because what can happen, and does happen, is that the cam chain will fall off the little sprocket in here, and there's a little sort of guide wall, if you like, behind the chain. Now what can happen if it goes slack, it can double up against that guide wall and sort of like seize. But I mean, the piston's down at the moment, so we've got to get top dead centre. And the good thing about this engine is it's a wasted spark engine, so even if you're not on a compression stroke, it still fires. But what I'm going to do when it's all back together is I'm then going to obviously rotate it by hand. When I'm happy with that, I'm going to give it some gentle kicks with the ignition off, build a little oil pressure, and then when I'm happy, we will go gadget ignition. So yeah, it's a little bit of an optical illusion, but one of those studs seems longer than the other. It is an optical illusion because if I square up to it with my perfect eyes, it is all square. So yes, the critical thing you've got to remember when doing this is whenever you try and do anything with the engine is make sure you keep this taut, because you do not want it falling off the back sprocket, because you've got to take this case off, you've got to pull the generator wheel off, and you know, it sits behind that, so hopefully we'll avoid that kind of buggeration. Yes, so I'm going to do a little bit more and bring you back. But there is a little timing mark in there, and we are on top dead centre. I'm not even sure you can see it. Get the camera in. As you can see, I'm using the torch on the phone, because I'm crap. I just need to get a little bit of the old gasket off from down here, and then good to put the other gasket on. Nice. Right, barrel's gone on lovely. I had to just finagle the exhaust out of the way a bit, do a little bit of whoop, and we're on top dead centre. So we can put the cylinder head on, but obviously we've got to be very careful to keep that nice and taut while feed it through. Unfortunately, because I haven't got a camera stand, I can't put the cylinder head on and film it at the same time. So I'm going to go and put the head gasket on and just present the cylinder head, and then we've got to work out the timing gear again, because I've got to find a little dowel in this bag. I put all the fasteners in this bag, and there's a little dowel. I think that's one of them. Yeah, that's one. And there's a little pin that goes in one of these holes, which might even be in the cylinder head, I don't know. But if not, it's not far away, or it's fell off in transit and will never be seen again. We'll have to order a new one. You know how this shit goes. But I've got to put 2 dowels, one there and one there, and then the head gasket. Okay, as you can probably see there, we fed in the lower cam chain guide before putting the head gasket on, because the head gasket slightly covers it, so it's a pain in the ass to get in. The upper cam chain guide gets fed into the cylinder head because it's the pivot is bolted, and we'll sort that out later. So it's time for head gasket. These surfaces are actually perfectly super smooth, scraped to buggery and all that lot, so they should seal quite well. Right, so cylinder heads on, and the 2 8mm are just nipped up, and the 12mm are just nipped up for hand action. Obviously chains out of the way, that's tight, so we're good. That holds the bearing in and the cam. I had to finagle the exhaust out of the way, and I was probably going to have a bit of a bastard of a job to getting it to fit in eventually. But the exhaust is supposed to split, and the tries of mine, this one doesn't. What I've got to do now is put the top cam chain guide, which is in really good condition, that goes basically inside the engine in there. It slides in through there, and you bolt it in with that on there. And a little birdie told me that perhaps the cylinder head needs to come off again and that go in first, but I'm sure I did it separately. Don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't, who knows. I'll find out in a bit, won't I? So all in all, I'm nearly done for tonight, because it's now getting dark. I need to have some tea, kebab, and then, you know, I should have a few hours daylight tomorrow when I finish work, and I should have Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday I'm down the Oxfordshire mansion. So yes, I'll probably wrap this up for now and then carry on when we've got daylight tomorrow. So I've got my head torch, which is fucking useless. So yeah, I'll carry on then. There's a bloody fly buzzing around. Anyway, it's now the next day, and while I've got a couple of hours daytime left, I've tried rotating the engine over, keeping the chain taut, and I can't get a full revolution, and the chain goes tight. Now what I think has happened is during disassembly I didn't know you had to keep that taut. It passed me by, and I think what's happened is that in here you've got your Jenny flywheel, behind the Jenny flywheel you've got your starter gear, and then you've got the tiny little sprocket that your cam chain sits on, and I think it's jumped the chain, it's jumped the sprocket just slightly. It only has to come off, because I'll get so much out of it. I mean, the piston's moving up and down the bore nicely, you get so much out of it, flatulence, and then no more. So I think the chain's getting bound up, so I'm going to take this cover off. But the first thing we need to do, drain the oil, take the engine guard off, you take the filter out, you take this side cover off, gear lever, and you drop the foot pegs, and then you get good access to this. So I am going to crack on with that once I've found the correct size spanner ridges, and then I will bring you back when I'm a little further in. Arse. Right, the cover's off, and I can just about see the chain, and as I suspected, I think it's fell off the back sprocket. So now I've got to get the old Jenny spinny wheel off and investigate further. Yes. Okay, we're on top dead centre of the engine. That is where it's supposed to be, with the pin up. And now what I've got to do is fit the decompression cam and its little stop plate, and then put the chain tensioner in, and then we're good for a test revolve. So I will get on with that. It's really fiddly, I need both hands, and if I film it you will be in the way, so I'm going to get on with it. Well folks, it's mostly all back together. All the wires are connected up, throttle body, fuel injections back on. Confession time, I did have to take the top sprocket off again because the timing mark had moved. So I reset top dead centre with the mark aligned in the cover, put the top sprocket on where it should be. I've put the exhaust on, I've put the O2 sensor on, and I think that is it all wired up apart from a bit of tidulation. So I've put oil in it, obviously I drained the oil, I've put oil back in it. It's the moment of truth now then, isn't it? Don't worry about that oil on the floor, that's just what come out the case when I had the cover off. Well, why should you be worried? It's not your bike that's going to seize. Anyway, I suppose we cannot delay it any longer. I know the engine turns over okay, so what I will do is just to prove you like that, I've got to reattach the foot pegs and what have you. Good compression, very good compression. Okay. Oh shit. Right, moment of truth. Fuel injection, injectifying. I did a thing! Well, I must say, smug mode activated. I'm rather pleased with myself. I was wondering whether I'd remember how it went back together. I have had to look at the little service manual twice just to see how to put back together the little decompression cam, but I think this time I'm going to do like the title of the video, will Phyllis run? Can I get Phyllis running or something like that? Anyway, you know now. So yeah, it's running, so I can wrap this one up. Thanks guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Won't be long before Phyllis is back on the road, and we'll take it from there. But overall, I'm like a dog with 3 penises. Or, as one of my friends at work says, I'm going to tell you this story. Did I tell you the story last time about Sean Connery at Glen Eagles or somewhere like that? If not, remind me to tell you next time. But I am well happy. See you folks.